Hello, welcome to Shelby Radio. I am Shelby Carino, and this is episode number 675. But we are in a series for the month of December during this holiday season that has to do about living for you and how to quiet all of this outside noise and actually find real happiness for you during this holiday season. So, today, what we're going to focus on is how to find comfort in the quiet so you can make space for the stillness when you're involved in all of the chaos. Because let's face it, the holidays are very chaotic. There's so much going on. There's so much to do. There's a lot of buzz happening in the air. And a lot of times that stirs up a lot of spiritual energy. A lot of spiritual energy we don't even know that's getting stirred up. And then when you get that overload, you're just like, oh my God, I just need quiet. I just need to be still. How can I find that in myself? So, we're going to dive into that. And I just want to take you through a quick little recap where 2 episodes ago, we were talking about taking off that holiday mask, moving towards being more authentic with your truth, what matters for you. And then we moved into saying no to things so you can say yes to other things, which really had to do with boundaries and gaining that confidence in your solar plexus, which is the third chakra, where when you do say no, when you do have appropriate boundaries and you're in the alignment, you're creating the space for other things to show up in your world that actually matter even more because it's going to align with the value and the direction that you're taking your life. Okay. Even in this new season of your awakening, because let's face it, we're all in a new season of our awakening, whether we realize it or not. It's happening. All right. So let me give this to you out here. There's a lot of hustle and bustle out here right now in the holiday season. There's a lot of noise in the holiday season. If you could find that quiet isn't just a space of luxury, but it's a necessity. Would it shift your focus and your perspective on learning how to slow down a little bit? Giving yourself permission to be in the stillness so you can restore what's going on in your mind. Because let's face it, your mind is constantly going when there's all this energy around you that's buzzing. And then that affects your body because you got to release it out of the body. And then that affects what your spirit is doing. Okay. That connection to your higher self, basically. So I can tell you when there's a lot of spiritual vibing going on that really happens around the holidays, I can feel that in the collective consciousness. So that chaos, just getting in my car is a moment where I'm overwhelmed by the collective society. Okay. There's just people are nuts right now out here. And this usually happens when I'm on the way to Pilates. And right now, because we're in the holiday season, there's a lot more people that are off work. They're doing shopping during hours of the day where normally they would be at work. So there's more cars on the road during the times that I would be leaving to go to Pilates. And then of course where Pilates are in the two different places I do Pilates, they're in shopping centers. So now people are like shopping in these shopping centers at the time that I usually go to Pilates, and they're not usually there during the normal world of work. Okay? And so it's like it's a little bit more chaotic out there. And so for me, the other day, I went to a Pilates class, and this was on a Saturday of when I usually don't go. Okay? Like during the week is enough, but I went on a Saturday in the middle of the afternoon to a Pilates class, and it didn't even register with me that society would be out. And I I'm driving to Pilates, and I am so stressed out because there's so many people on the road, and then I was hitting every stoplight, and then I this Pilates studio is in this really big shopping complex, and they had already put up the Christmas tree at this moment and all the lights, and everybody's out buzzing, and there's an event center there, so everybody's at the event center. And by the time I got to Pilates, I really needed Pilates because I was just like, what in the world is happening? I was so overwhelmed because there was so much traffic, there was so much noise, there was so much that I could hear in the collective consciousness in my system, that my nervous system was just at, you know, and I walked into Pilates and I took a breath because I actually was doing the center and balance class. Talk about timing. And I just walked into my bubble of safety, stillness, quiet, peace, so I could recenter, so I could rebalance. And then when that 15 minutes was up, I was like, I think I'll be able to make it home okay. And then I went back out, got to my car. I was in the matrix, but I was just at peace. I was at stillness in my car because I had calmed my own nervous system. And I did it through Pilates. And Pilates helps you calm your mind, it helps you calm the body. Okay, so then my spirit was quiet, so I could handle what I was driving back into on the way home. Why is being quiet so hard to find these days? There is this noise of life that is happening out here. It's constant demands from work that people are enduring. It's constant demands from the family, because let's face it, a lot of people in the household now work, which puts more stress on the family. And then you've got the social obligations or the family obligations or the work obligations. There's just so much going on. And then you add in the overstimulation of the holiday season, where you have the social events, you have music going on around you, you have these expectations of what we're supposed to be doing. So that's just kind of like the noise of life. Well, then you have to add in the internal noise. And the internal noise are the thoughts. It's the thoughts that go on in our head that only you can hear. And some of those thoughts could be, am I doing enough? Which I know is really funny to even question that. Like, am I doing enough? I mean, hello, you're trying to find peace and quiet. I think you're doing a little too much. Okay, but our worth, our value questions that. Am I doing enough? Or another thought, which is internal noise, could be, um, what will people think if I don't do this? What will people think if I do this? And this creates the inner turmoil. This creates the inner chaos. And let's face it, when you have this internal noise going on, there is a fear. I see it all the time with my students and clients. There is a fear that comes up that if they are still and they are not moving, that they're going to miss something or they're going to feel uncomfortable being still. So many people avoid getting quiet because what happens is it brings them face to face with their emotions, with their truth, because they don't have the outside noise, but they justify it by, well, if I'm quiet, if I'm still, then I'm going to miss something out here. Again, that's that FOMO, right? That fear of missing out. Well, if I'm quiet and still, I'm going to miss something. And I can't afford to do that because I'm running this multi-million-dollar company, or I'm running a household, or, I'm the caretaker for everybody in my life, or whatever. We always will find an excuse to not be quiet, to not be still. When in reality, that excuse stems from, do I really want to hear what my truth is? Do I really want to see what I'm emotionally feeling? Do I really want to deal with everything in my closet? Because if you did, you would have to do some spiritual housekeeping. All right. So, this spiritual perspective of this is the noise creates the disconnection from your higher self. Because if you're busy, if you have a lot of noise going on, you have a lot of clutter in your mind, well, you're not connecting to that higher divine self of yours the way maybe you would connect. So this stillness, the quiet moments where you have intuition, where you have divine guidance, where you have spiritual alignment, it's the strongest when you're quiet. It's the strongest when you are still. It's why people go to meditation camps, because that's the moment where you can be still, you can be quiet. And then you learn how to incorporate that into day-to-day life, and then take a moment to be still and be quiet, because it's so easy to get caught up in the chaos. So a metaphor is like, if you look at a metaphor for this, it's like quiet is the pause between the notes in a song. It's what makes the melody meaningful. Think about that. Think about a song. Think about one of your favorite songs. And there is a pause in between the notes of the song. There's a moment of quiet. And in that moment of quiet, it takes us to the reflection. It takes us to a connection. And then all of a sudden, the melody that you hear in that song, all of a sudden just elevated in its meaning, because it's methodical. It's still. It isn't creating chaos. It's doing the opposite. It's creating stillness, reflection, internal guidance, a feeling, emotion, a perspective, a shift. So the power of stillness does several things. One of the things that it does is it restores our nervous system. And right now, our nervous systems are on high alert, because we're moving into that golden age, that high frequency on the planet called fifth dimension, which we're not going to get into. You can investigate on my website, ShelbyRADIO.com, the course that I talk about the fifth dimension, which is the very first course in my 12-course curriculum called Expanding Consciousness Fundamentals. Okay, that'll cover that topic. So the power of stillness restores the nervous system, because when you're quiet, it activates a part of the nervous system where it actually helps your body recover from stress. And I don't have to get into all the big details of the kinesiology or the whatever of what that is. But there's a part in the nervous system where when you're quiet, then it begins to help you recover from stress. So, like, I love doing Pilates. Pilates is life for me, okay? And there is a class in Pilates called Restore. And when you walk into this class, the lights are dim, there's very calming music being played. You're laying on the floor most of the time, and you're just connecting to these parts of the body that is restoring not just what the body needs to be restored with, but it's also restoring the mind. You're restoring the nervous system. You're balancing everything. So when I feel like I'm just at my wit's end of peopling or what I'm picking up from the collective consciousness, I'll go do a restore class because that brings me back to body. It brings me back to mind. It brings me back to peace. It brings me back to quiet. And I know I've got 15 minutes to do that. So these physical benefits of being quiet, being still, it really helps to reduce the anxiety that we feel. It helps us sleep a little bit better, even if it's 10 minutes longer. Or it restores even having better sleep more nights than not. So then your focus improves, your mental clarity improves, your mental health improves. So there's this whole domino effect of restoring your nervous system. And then you also get to this emotional clarity when you're still. Because when you allow yourself to be still, when you allow yourself to slow down, you create the space to process the emotions. You create the space to not have distractions so the emotions can process. And being quiet helps you separate what your authentic desires are from what you may be feeling externally pressured to do. And then this benefit of stillness helps with your spiritual reconnection. When you're still, when you're quiet, it's when the downloads happen. It's when you get the divine messages. It's when you get the intuitive insights. It's when you get the clarity about what your next steps are. It's when you slow down. It's when you're quiet, not when you're chaotic and in the noise 24/7. And you can be chaotic and in the noise even when you're sleeping. Trust me, that's not good either. You have to learn how to be still. You have to learn how to be quiet because your energy field recalibrates during those moments when you're quiet, when you're still, when your nervous system has time to take a breath, because then you're aligning with the higher frequencies. And that is what the fifth dimension's about. It's what the golden age is about. So this is becoming a necessity. This is no longer trying to pretend it doesn't exist out here. It's here. I'm seeing it every day with people who are not understanding what's happening. And some of these people are in the health and wellness industry and they don't even know what this golden age of fifth dimension and higher frequency is about that's taking a toll on the nervous system. So the other day, I was out and I was speaking to someone, and they were talking to somebody else about how all of a sudden they're noticing that they're getting discombobulated. Like, I was overhearing the conversation, like their orientation's getting messed up, meaning their moments, they're coming in and out of moments where they're high in their spiritual energy, but then they get grounded, but then they get dizzy, and it's happening sporadically. I hear this all the time from people where they try to figure out why that's happening. You know, is there something wrong with them physically and that's why these symptoms are happening? Or is something wrong with them spiritually and that's why this is happening? You know, they're trying to figure it out. And when I overheard this conversation, there was a moment in time where I stepped in and I asked a question. Like, do you notice a pattern with what's going on? I always ask people when I hear this, I always go in and say, do you have a pattern? Is this happening more times than not in one location or when you're around a certain group of people or something like that? And at first, they didn't recognize that they had a pattern. But then I asked another question and then they go, wait a minute, I have noticed it only happens when I'm around this specific group of people. And I said, oh, well, that group of people are probably more spiritually open, emotionally, energetically than when you're around this other social circle of people. And that's when the light bulb went off for them. And they were like, oh my gosh, you are right. I didn't even think about that. And I said, well, you don't have to think about it. You just got to notice it. And I was doing a reframe. And so I said, well, are you doing any type of emotional work? And they laughed and they went, oh my gosh, no, because I'm too busy. There's the key buzzword, busy. I'm too busy working. I'm too busy raising a family. I'm too busy doing this. And then they started giving themselves the justification, the excuse, you know I need to take better care of myself. I know I need to, maybe do some yoga, or I know I need to do something. And so I said, well, okay. I said, are you open for information? And they said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, okay. And I said, you're going to go down your path. You're going to check it out with the doctors, why everything's going on. I said, but here's my information. Go to my site, listen to a podcast episode, go down this rabbit hole and then see if that does something to shift you. And that was me. Okay, being in the right place at the right time, having permission to come in and this conversation and ask a question and simply share information. Whether they do anything with it or not is beside the point. And I haven't run into them again, of course, to find out otherwise. And it doesn't matter. What matters is I showed up in the quiet, in the stillness, because they were seeking quiet and stillness. Because their nervous system was out of control. They admitted that they don't have any emotional clarity going on in their life right now. And they didn't even link it to the fact that spiritually, maybe something's going on in their spiritual energy. So I just happened to come in, connect some dots, hear some information, take it, do with what you want. Okay. But I could only do that because of where I'm at, and what my energy is, because I've been through that, so I can recognize it out there in others. So there's a practical way to find the comfort when you're quiet. Because let's face it, most people are so busy being busy. You might be one of these people that you're not comfortable when you're quiet. You're actually maybe more uncomfortable when you're quiet, which is why you stay busy. So what steers people away from being quiet is they think they have to meditate. And when you even say the word meditate, they're like, oh, God, I can't do that, Shelby. I can't sit still. And it's like, you don't have to. Not that way. You find what works for you. So you have to start small. It's not about meditating. It's about being still. Okay? So you put on your calendar, okay, I'm going to take 1 to 2 days this week just to see if I can take 5 minutes in the morning to just sit in a chair with your coffee or your tea or whatever without looking at your cell phone, without having the TV on, without having the kids around, without your spouse being around, without the radio on. Just be quiet, right? Just be still. And that's a part in you, okay, that practices being still. So create that quiet space for yourself. Set up a physical space in your house, in your apartment, wherever you are. Put a chair in the corner or find a spot that just feels cozy and warm and dedicate that one area to where you're going to be still. And then slowly add in things to that space that soothe you. So you may add a candle to the space. You may add a blanket to the space. You may add some essential oils to the space. So when you go into the space, it smells good. Now, notice behind me, if you're watching on my YouTube channel at the Queen of Total Wellness, or you can find me, Shelby Carino, on YouTube, notice this candle that I have behind me. I put that into the frame when I began this episode, and this candle is actually called Calm, CALM. Okay. And so I lit it because I'm like, we're going into calmness, we're at stillness, quiet. This episode is about that energy. So I added a candle to the space. So not only am I smelling the aroma of the candle that is calming me, but I'm setting the intention of the energy in the episode that the calm is there. One simple candle can do wonders to a space, especially with a cozy little blanket. It's a visual thing. And then if you decide to light it, just make sure when you leave the space, you blow out the candle and, whatever. But you create that space repetitively every time you're going into the space to be still, to be calm. And when you put your senses in with that space, it only creates your nervous system to be even calmer because now you're getting the visual part in there. You're getting your smells, okay? You're getting the feelings of everything. So this is where you have to then practice at some point, maybe not right out of the gate, but you want to practice breathing. You want to be able to inhale for 4 counts, hold your breath for 4 counts, and then exhale for 4 counts. Because when you use that technique, 4-4-4, you're teaching how to overcome the chaos, to overcome the nervous system being cray-cray, and it brings you back to center. So let's try that right now. Okay? We're going to inhale. We're going to hold for 4 counts. We're going to inhale for 4 counts. We're going to hold your breath for 4 counts. And then you're going to exhale for 4 counts. So let's do this together. We're all going to have a different pace. Here we go. Inhale for 4 counts. Do you notice a drop in your energy that went more down into your body? Did you notice that maybe you took longer exhales out, or you took more breath in, or maybe you held a little bit longer? And then after that first one, did you feel like when I started talking again, you wanted to do it again? And then you wanted to do it again? It's because breath connects us to our spirit. It's the breath of spiritual energy. That's why I love Pilates so much, because it's about the breath. So every day I go to Pilates, I'm breathing deep. And the instructors that I go to, many of them start with us on the reformer with our hand on our chest, our hand on our lower abdomen, and we're breathing that count. And maybe the numbers change a little bit or whatever, but we're getting centered in the breath So the nervous system relaxes, the body relaxes before we go into the physical practice because breath is everything. And then you can use that breath anytime you want. You can use it when you're sitting and driving in traffic. You just go, I got to breathe. And it just centers you. So you're also going to want to turn off the noise. So you need to reduce the overstimulation that's going on around you because you've got to set the quiet hours. You have to set time to be by yourself. So maybe no social media, no screen time, right, on your phone. Maybe 30 minutes before bed, you say, I'm putting my phone up. I'm not going to look at it. And I'm going to watch a show on TV. Everybody else is in bed. Nobody's around. And I'm just going to have that moment to be still and quiet, even if you're watching your favorite show. My husband does that a lot. You know, if he's had a really big day and I've taken my Epsom salt bath and my energy is turning down for the night and whatever, and I'll be like, all right, babe, you know, I'm going to bed. You know, what are you doing? And he'll be like, I just got to sit out for here for a few minutes. I'm going to turn on an episode of Friends. I just got to chill out for a second. And I'm like, okay, that's his go-to. That anytime he turns on Friends, the sitcom Friends, I'm like, yeah, he needs to get quiet. You know, he's got a lot of chaos going on. And then he watches the episode, he has the laugh, he has the stillness, he's not looking at his phone, and then he comes to bed and he's like, he's good. Okay? So you got to turn off the noise. And then you've got to schedule that time for you to be still. So you've got to treat that quiet time as a non-negotiable part of your day. It's like an appointment you go to every day. So if it's 10 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, if you're needing to do it in the morning where you're walking and you're having reflective time, if it's during lunch, if it's at night, you know, for me, it's the bathtub. You know, when I take a bath every night and the Epsom salt bath, that's when I'm just like turning off. And then I've got about a good 30 minutes after I take that Epsom salt bath and I'm quiet and I'm still and I'm letting go of everything for the day. I've got about 30 minutes where I might stay awake. And then after that, my husband knows she's a goner. After 30 minutes, my lights turned down. I'm going to bed. My energy's off. Like I'm done. Like there's no more. There's no more. Like don't ask me a question. I'm not going to be able to answer it. Okay? Like I'm just done. So that spiritual connection is where you have to affirm something. You have to say, that in stillness, I hear my truth. And if you don't believe that yet, then look at my book, The Art of Process, and look at what my 70 times 7 is in The Art of Process, and take this affirmation of in stillness, I hear my truth, and do that 70 times 7 assignment that I have in my book, The Art of Process. And you can find that on my website, ShelbyRADIO.com, under the books category. Okay. It'll change your life because that process will take that affirmation in stillness, I hear my truth, and it will run it through all of your energy centers in your body, which are called the chakras. And it does the energetic reframe. Okay. So when you get to that and it links it even to your throat chakra, that quiet then is going to strengthen your ability to listen. It's going to strengthen your inner voice, which is what we're all going for now. So you have to overcome this resistance to quiet. If you have resistance, you have to address the fear of your stillness. If you're thinking to yourself, what if I feel lonely or overwhelmed in the quiet? Then you need to reframe that quiet is not an absence. It's an invitation to reconnect with yourself. That's powerful. And if you can't get past that, then you've got some work to do. And maybe you need to sign up for a discovery call with me and we need to have a conversation about this. Okay. And you can do that through my website. But you got to get to a place where being quiet isn't fearful, that it's not a place where you're lonely or overwhelmed. And if you are, then you've got some spiritual housekeeping you got to do. That's where my curriculum comes in. That's where my books come in. That's where my sessions come in. That's why listening to my podcast episodes come in, to help start building this new belief system inside of yourself that energetically shifts. So being quiet isn't scary. It's actually empowering. So if you're also having to deal with resistance from like external pushback, like people around you, if you have to explain to loved ones that you need time for stillness, you've got to do it without feeling guilty. So you might say, I'm taking some time to recharge right now, so I can show up better for y'all later. Because if I don't get quiet right now, I'm going to flip shit. Okay? And you speak that. So people know around you, like, oh, wow, okay, I'll give you some space. Go get quiet. Take 5 minutes, whatever you need. And then you have to get good at your awareness. You have to recognize the signs of when you need to be quiet. So if you start feeling irritable or overwhelmed, or you're constantly on edge, these are all signals that, hey, your mind and body are a little cuckoo right now, and you are craving that stillness. And sometimes when you're in the chaos of feeling all of that, all those symptoms, you can't stop yourself because you're in the swirl. So sometimes it takes an external factor, though, to point it out. And if they point it out, then you have to make sure you pay attention and you listen and you're aware, so you can get better at when you're in that state. Okay? So there's all of these benefits then to embracing the quiet, because you'll have increased presence, meaning the quiet moments that you have are going to help you stay more in your mind where it's appropriate. So you can be engaged in life instead of disassociating or disconnecting from life. You're going to have deeper connections with people, with yourself, because when you're still, it allows you to show up authentically. It allows you to be in the relationships that you're meant to be in the way you're supposed to be in them. And the benefits of that stillness is going to increase and heighten your intuition, because now you're quiet. So you don't have all this noise going on around you. So you're going to be able to hear yourself. You're going to be able to trust that intuition more. You're going to have more wisdom. You're going to have more spiritual guidance. You're going to want to go into a spiritual practice, because now you're at, wow, what have I been missing? And then that is the effect of where you move into true happiness. Because when you quiet the external noise, you're finding the fulfillment within you, because now you're just at simplicity and being able to be instead of being able to do. That's what spiritual practice does for you. And that's the game changer right there, is learning how to be instead of learning how to do. Okay? So let's wrap all of this up and get you quiet, because quiet is a gift that you give yourself in the chaos of life. The stillness is what restores your mind, restores your body, restores your spirit. It creates the space for the joy. It creates the space for the clarity. So create a moment of quiet for you now, sometime today, and share with me what you noticed, how you felt. Send me an email through my contact form, or, write it on social media, hashtag ShelbyRADIO with it. Okay, put it on my YouTube description box, somewhere. Put it somewhere. Because when you put it somewhere and I see it and I connect in with that, I send that energy to you. It just helps reinforce your quiet and stillness. Okay? It's the interaction that we have with each other. So do that today and get good at giving yourself permission to be still and quiet. Because that's what matters, is when you give yourself permission to be still. You give yourself permission to be quiet because you're giving yourself permission to get out of the rat race and connect with something that matters within you, that is only going to make you more confident, more powerful, more effective in this game of life that you're living and the purpose you're here to create. It's a powerful place to be. That was a lot. So next week, we're going to continue with finding joy in what matters and letting go of what you should be doing. Perfect time for not just the holidays, but for just life in general. Because again, we're on this spiritual journey, and the spiritual journey is ourself. And we're learning ourself all over again. So, thank you for showing up. Again, hello to everybody listening in the United States, globally, Canada, Sweden, Brazil, Mexico, Australia, China, Japan, the United Kingdom, everybody that's showing up on the map, India. Thank you. We're all in this together. It's a global movement of our spiritual awakening process on levels that we may not even know we're doing yet, but we're doing it. And we're doing it through the seasons of life. And especially over here in the United States in December, there's always hustle and bustle around Christmas and the holidays. And this is just one way that we get to practice this mindfulness, this peace, because it is a season of peace, Peace, and we have to learn to be at peace and still and quiet. So until next week, have a great day. Do take that 5 or so minutes today to be still, do your breathing, the 4-4-4, and let me know how it goes for you. So until next week, have a good one. Be still, be quiet, be calm, and be at peace. Talk to you then.